I have never done this before, but I wanted to share with you one of the coaching calls that we have twice a week. This one is going to be our Sunday weekly prep meeting going over every single market, the currencies, the stocks, commodities, Bitcoin. There are a lot of great lessons to be learned from this coaching call that I wanted to share with you guys, great zones, and about how to trade the supply and demand methodology. So I really appreciate if you hit that like button on this video. And if you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments below. And you can always reach out to me on my social media at Moneyball Austin. And if you guys wanted to be part of the coaching program and get the free training, that will be down in below in the description, moneyballtrading.com, where you'll get your free training. And then you can learn more about the Moneyball Trading program and be in these coaching calls and in the Discord. I'd love to have you guys part of the team. Enjoy the whole meeting. There's lots to be learned. Maybe sometime I share with you guys one of the Wednesday meetings where we go over the trade reviews, going over everybody's trades, looking at what's good, what's bad, and how to become better traders. Those are my favorite meetings. So, hey, let's end it here. Enjoy the meeting. Let's get on to it. Really try to dial in. This is what I would always say. Take 20 trades and really challenge yourself, because that was such a light bulb moment to me that just like opened my eyes, be like, damn, like I actually followed my rules and I remained super disciplined for like 45, 60 days. And I made money, and I was trading like the daily 1 hour. And after I did my review, and that's why I always preach people, make sure you journal your trades, because I wouldn't have figured out what setup I'm really good at, or, what are the qualities of a good trade setup that are profitable versus the non-profitable setups if I didn't journal my trades. And that's why I harp on people all the time. Journal your damn trades. You know what I mean? Because it completely changed me. And so that's why I tell people all the time. And then you review all those trades. You have 40 trades that somewhat look the same. And then you figure out what makes money, what doesn't. And then you got to challenge yourself and say, okay, this is it for the next 45 days, 50 days, 60 days. I'm only going to take this exact trade setup and make sure every trade looks exactly like this. I'm going to remain the same with my take profit, with my risk and everything. You know what I mean? Then sooner or later, you realize, hey, I'm up 5% over the course of 45 days. You'll hear me say the same things over and over again, and there's reasons to why I'm saying it. But then over time, you'll realize, heck, when you do your review, you were right about this. But it's important for you to see it for your own eyes, because it's a different belief system that you'll get versus if you just hear me preach it, right? You ready to get going? Start off with the news. I believe it is a holiday for USA. Starting Monday, stock market is going to be closed on Monday the 16th, which is tomorrow. I think it's like Martin Luther King Day. So yeah, currency brokers will remain open and all that, but stock market will be closed. So if you do trade the CFDs and stuff like that, markets are going to be closed. Stay away maybe from the currencies if you want, or you can always trade the London session and you shouldn't have an issue with that. Very slow day for the US, in my opinion, once it gets to the currencies during that time. Aside from that, the world-class World Economic Forum meetings are going on in Davos. It's just kind of, preaching their agenda for the elites, basically. That's going on for the next week. And then we got some CAD news, bank rates, and core retail sales coming out throughout the week. So somewhat heavy, but also somewhat nothing too crazy. A lot of people are going to be talking. I guess it is the main talking point going into this week is going to be the Fed rates, not the Fed rates, but balancing the budget, trying to raise the budget for the next year. Obviously, the government's going to require more money, and they're probably going to get as much money as they can, as usual. When they said they're not going to be taking as much as they did last time, which it doesn't make any sense. They're going to take more. It's just a no-brainer stuff. I think we all know how to read through the news. It's all lies, anyways. Make sure you do have a scan through the news every single day. It's probably not best that trading a smaller time frame CAD when CPI numbers are about to come out, during that time. So take out your orders, sit on the sidelines for currencies like that. So always make sure you have a look, because it does wipe out people. And in my opinion, and happens to everybody, you do get wiped out from time to time, but you learn from your mistakes. And so that's why I always say, just don't even get involved with the heavy news events regarding trading on the lower time frame. Stay away and wait for it to cool down. Let's start by just going through everything, kind of daily 4-hour time frames, Euro USD all the way down through the stocks, the majors, the minors, commodities, and everything. So it's going to be somewhat fast, But if you guys do have any questions, which I will probably ask you guys some questions, feel free to bring them up. We'll start with Euro USD and make our way down. Let's start with the weekly. Nothing too special really on the weekly, in my opinion. Maybe you got a couple zones in there, but honestly, if I'm trading a weekly time frame, I'm personally not really going to keep any of these zones. The last area that we did talk about was marking up these two zones. Since then, it's been removed, and you definitely do have little supply zones here, which is fine, and up here, those are totally fine. But this is a weekly time frame, so give it another week, in my opinion. Daily time frame, sure. I guess you got any type of daily supply zone up in here. So you would be looking for any counter trend moves, looking for the corrective movement, which is going to be lower quality based off of 90% of the people that do the reviews. And I ask them to look at their trending versus counter trend versus sideways market. 90% of the time they come back and say, there's a pretty big difference between your counter trend trades versus your trending market trades. So any shorts are valid, but they are going to be counter trends. So obviously I would recommend smaller risk and quicker take profits / quicker trade management, because you are asking the market for a corrective move. And, who's to say the prices are going to start here and then all of a sudden drop? I mean, it's kind of foolish, in my opinion, to start asking for 4-to-1s and 3-to-1s when you're trading a heavy counter trend market. Though if you're trading with the trend, it makes a lot more sense to me to ask for more, because you're trading with the general higher time frame trend relative to the time frame that you are looking at. So if I'm looking at the daily, it's been rallying nonstop for the last 60 days. Think that prices are just going to ultimately stop here and then just blow all the way down. It's quite ambitious of you. Though, yes, I think probably a little corrective move, maybe down to here, maybe it's just down to here. Maybe it goes down into this daily demand zone down here. That would be great, because I would like to use this general area as a demand zone to look for buying opportunities following the trend. So as a set and forget type of trader, using the daily time frame as your highest time frame, you might be looking at like this 4-hour demand down here, which would also be the one time frame trade sequence setup that we talked about at the time, how that just breaks downward momentum, also removes that opposing zone, as well as it's a very strong quality zone, like scoring wise. So either it's one time frame / set and forget relative to the daily time frame being your highest time frame. And so I still think it's totally valid if you wanted to be buying in that demand zone. Or the third option, wait for prices to come back down into here, and then obviously wait for the confirmation on like a 15-minute, 5-minute time frame, and see if you can get a 5-minute type of buy entry down in here. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's continue on. This is going to be basically the same over the last couple major pairs regarding that demand zone, because it's a massive move to the upside. Right, so you're going to see the same demand zone being played out on every type of major pair, basically. Right, 4-hour demand up here. You got a decent little 4-hour supply zone up in here that I do like. So if you'd like using that as your higher time frame, I think it's a good little area to be looking for selling opportunities on a 5-minute, maybe 15-minute time frame up in here. Maybe as a multiple time frame, I don't know. We'd have to look. I don't really like it as a multiple time frame too much. I don't really see it sitting inside higher time frame supply. We talked about, we did talk about this as like a one time frame at the time, as it was breaking this whole structure. I wouldn't trade it straight up anymore as a 4-hour time frame. Instead, I would be using this now as my highest time frame. And then once prices come back up into there, I'll be looking for selling opportunities. Where price is currently, I'm not interested in trading this at all. Like if I'm looking at this for the day and it's the 4-hour time frame, it's not even going to be on my watch list because it's split between the two. Maybe if we go down to a 1 hour, completely different story. Like you definitely have, it doesn't matter what market I'm trading. If I see a 1 hour supply zone like that, I like it. I think it's got a really good imbalance to the downside. It went 2-to-1. It also removed this little 4-hour demand zone here. So it's a tradable 1-hour supply zone. So this would be, doesn't matter to the market. I would use this and then potentially go down to a smaller time frame and see if I can take a short. I am not going to go off and trade it now as the markets are just opening up over the last 15 minutes, but also it's a holiday. So not something I really want to execute on a 1-minute time frame, especially with the spreads being extremely high this second. But, you know, during the US session, during the London session, 100%, it's a very good zone. I like it. So waiting currently for price to go up into the supply or the demand. I think they're both good zones. New Zealand USD, as you can see, it's the exact same zone we just talked about on Euro USD and Pound USD. So I don't think I need to rinse and repeat everything that I just mentioned, but same 4-hour zones. And we go down to that 1 hour, it's going to be that same 1-hour supply zone. You know, it's a US dollar pair, so you're going to see them across the board. Same setups as I referenced, Euro USD and all that, you know, same top-down analysis, same zones. Aussie USD, I don't see anything too great. It's a very wide weekly supply zone up in here. It's decent. It's got really good imbalances. It's just a very wide base, right? It's a very wide base relative to, in my opinion, how big the 4 hours or how big the weekly bases should be. So I still like it, but waiting for confirmation and haven't seen anything. I think the last confirmation setup we talked about, I think Spot, you took that, didn't you, on Aussie USD?
Maybe I'd have to go back and look.
Okay. Well, I remember we talked about this in the trade reviews, and we said, very nice 4-hour demand in here, right? It's a very nice, strong move to the upside. Would definitely be looking for buys in here. And I think we were referencing this being our supply zone as at the time, that's how prices were going up. And then we get that confirmation, right? Breaking momentum, opposing pivot points being removed. That happened January 3rd, so like the very start of the year. Okay. So till then, I still like it for selling opportunities. It's just we need to see more evidence now because it's continued to go higher up. Okay. We can kind of speed this one up. USD CAD daily time frame, I really don't see anything until the daily demand down in here. I think we have a little daily demand zone in here, which is totally valid if you want to use it. I think it's totally fine. You have a really nice move to the upside, indicating to us that a lot of buyers stepped in, right? Came very close to touching it and rallied up. So now that it's gone back into it, I believe it's okay to be looking for buying opportunities. And I think the 1 hour zone that we referenced was down in here. This would be a very small risk in my opinion, because I still believe, yes, on the 1 hour time frame, it's broken that momentum, removed that opposing pivot point zone. I totally get it. It's just when I look at the 4 hour, it's just that's the next major pivot point. You know, is this whole 4 hour zone, and it's dropped, rallied, base dropped, and created a new low. So the fact that we are reacting off of that area up there points me to say we might be going lower. And so I wouldn't sit there saying this is a fantastic trade setup. Instead, it would be like, I would recommend smaller risk type of trades on something like that. But at the time, 100%, I believe I posted it saying, you know, it's a very nice little 1 hour setup when we started removing this opposing pivot point zone. So I still like it, or the other trader might use this as a higher time frame and then look for buying opportunities on the 1 minute, right? So different time frame sequences for different types of traders.
Would that be, sorry, I can't see the timing exactly on that, but that wouldn't be too old by the time it came here? Like, did that form on Friday?
That formed on Friday, yes.
So that wouldn't be too old by the time it came down, because you're like at
no. I mean, you're kind of forced. I mean, it's a weekend zone that was created going into the weekend, so it's like you're forced to wait 2 days. You know what I mean?
Not consider that in terms of like your guidelines, right? Because I'm thinking like,
yeah.
Look at anything that was a setup over from Friday, I just like disregard them all, because you're, especially with the holiday, you'd be like 3 days, 4 days. 3 days in.
Yeah, I understand that. I totally get what you mean by that. And I think that will turn some people off.
Or do you think that like because it's a weekend and it's basically like you're kind of in frozen mode, it doesn't count the same way as active trading days?
It's debatable. It really is debatable. I don't really see an issue with this as long as it came back. I know what you're getting. If this is like a Monday trade, the thing is the market's closed on Monday, right? So that's why I'm like pointing towards like, no, I don't really want to take
it. Was a Monday. If Monday was open, if we were going to Canada's holidays, Monday was actually open. Like you would be like, oh well, it was the weekend, so it's okay, right? As opposed to it wasn't like in the middle of the week.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's just a tricky one because it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Your USD yen, we talked about this being like a monthly uptrend. It's basically overextended if you kind of look at it as we have like a rally base, maybe rally, maybe two in here. And we rally up, rally base rally, and whatever type of maybe rally base rally is in here. So it's like two for sure, maybe three. So we might be considering overextended. Price coming back into monthly demand, also maybe a little area of support across the board. It's not really convinced myself that it is support, but looking at a monthly time frame, just across the board, I mean, it blew through it already. So I wouldn't really sit here and call it support. I would be going off of like demand. All right. And then the confirmation trade setup would be, sorry, not the confirmation, the set and forget would be at the extreme down in here. At this demand, buying at the very low. As a drop-based rally, it's a strong quality zone. I think just timing-wise, I think it's also in balance to say, hey, we might be getting this corrective move now, kind of getting this impulse correction, impulse maybe to here or here, correction, impulse. So we're kind of getting in that time frame of this correction move is tending to be happening. I think it's quite aggressive to be using as just a set and forget. But I like that also as confirmation. Just keep in mind that obviously if you're going to use the daily time frame as your highest time frame in this case, it's going to be counter trend because obviously on the daily we've been dropping nonstop. This is what we just talked about on the other pairs as well, but it's going to be reversed. Here on the daily, coming into demand, downtrend. So any longs will be counter trend. So small risk with confirmation, earlier trade management, take profits. And that's why I'm not saying if prices come down, which it has, and then blows up, I wouldn't see this thing really taking off all the way up here. Instead, I'm thinking like just a 1.5 to 1, 1.5 to 1, maybe 2 to 1 move. Because I still like this area as a daily supply zone following the trend to the downside. And so for the people using the daily, I think it's a great zone to be looking for trending trades to the downside or wait for prices to come up and then confirmation down, right? The other option is if we're going to be using the monthly daily, the confirmation, we're waiting for that to be happening, right? Breaking momentum, remove that pivot point, and then hopefully there's a very strong quality zone that gets created. That's what I subscribe to. Right, regarding this monthly, daily type of trading. That's what we are waiting for. And I hope so. I really hope that comes in. I would love to see this daily demand work out and take up to the upside, remove this pivot point and all that. But we'll have to check in 2 weeks from now and have this conversation. Maybe as a set and forget. Yeah, so if you're daily 1 hour, right, different time frame sequence, daily downtrend, price coming up into daily supply up here, if it ever does come back, the set and forget would be at the very extreme here. That's the best zone up in here. You follow, Spot?
Yep.
Right. Or, if you want to use that as your higher time frame, that's totally fine. And wait for prices to come up into the 1 hour and then looking for confirmation counter trend shorts on your 1 minute. Once prices come back up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
When you're looking at the monthly,
you could do the same thing here if you wanted to keep following the trend, but I think it's getting to that point in time where we're sitting inside monthly, weekly, daily demand. So it's like coming into the question of, should you really be trading this now? And if you do, strongly consider small risk and quick take profits. Right?
Yeah.
Go on.
In the monthly demand, what would you say the trend is? Would you say, I think I was thinking
Uptrend?
Still uptrend because it hasn't. Yeah. It's removed, or maybe it's sideways because it's removed one little.
Yeah. If we get the candle closing how it is now, I get it, because I'm considering this market overextended, right?
Yeah.
And if we get that close, which we are going to get that close most likely, it's going to be a break, and then 100% I'll say sideways after that point. And then we will have a new monthly supply up here, up top half probably. If we go down to the weekly, yeah, like this area. You follow?
Yeah.
I just need to see another monthly candlestick close. But as long as you're not saying it's down, that's fine with me.
No, yeah, I was just kind of debating over up versus sideways.
Good, good. Okay, USD Mexican, we've been talking about this demand. It's been the talking point for the last year and a half, right? We've been liking buying opportunities in here. We're now going lower, down to the very extreme. We are not surprised by this because it's just been testing it nonstop. I really like the extreme of that monthly demand. Talking about it, it's the monthly, it's the weekly. I love that down in here. So I definitely like this as a weekly demand, looking for buying opportunities, 1 hour, 4 hour time frames.
Would you call that monthly? I think it's monthly and stronger than the USD JPY monthly demand, just because of
I like it.
The type of, like, it's not a rally-based rally, it's a pretty
drop-based rally.
Yeah. Okay.
What we're going to be waiting for is that, right? That is the current momentum to the downside. Obviously, supply zones being created and respected. I just need to see for any type of buys. I need to see that. Once that happens, I like that for a swing trade. Do you agree, Spot, or disagree?
Agree. I was just thinking that it's like a potential for a set and forget as well. I'm just looking. I haven't done many times.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a couple of them. But this one, like, it was a good exercise of like comparing. Like, I was kind of looking at USD JPY and looking at this one. And I like the zone more in this stronger zone, but I think that the current trend is worse. I would call that a downtrend because you can make a momentum line downwards, right? On the
monthly?
Can you? Yeah, you can. Sort of. Yeah, you can.
Well, it's debatable because we never really removed any type of demand.
Go from the, okay, yeah, you're right. But you can make an
argument, because what I would say here is, like, it's honestly impossible to remove any demand. It's such a big move to the upside. And you know, when that happens, you get a massive candlestick. Like, if you got,
I don't know, I guess I'm just like looking at that and
let's just imagine, Spot,
to me.
This is what like the regular price action was. Let's just say like that, and you get that big of a candle to the downside, and it pulls back all the way up into here. Yeah, like, I'm not a big fan of people saying, "Oh, it's still in a downtrend," you know, and we're going like this. It's like, well, you know, it's impossible to really remove any type of supply because the supply is all the way up here. So I understand what you mean, and I think you could debate that with different people. So if you want to go sideways, sure.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to really argue. You could argue both sides based off of the rules that we trade. You good? Yeah. USD Singapore, for the last month, we've been talking about kind of bottom of the range, top of the range. That's been our talking points here. Kind of support across the whole thing, just support down in here, bottom of the range is where buyers seem to be stepping in each time. I like it. It's just a general area where buyers are stepping in, general area where sellers are stepping in. So we've got that big move to the downside, just waiting for, you know, daily candlesticks, daily confirmation, maybe 4 hour. Haven't really received it. Maybe down in here, but it's too wide of a base, and that's when you would hear me say, take the bottom 50% or go down to a smaller time frame and see if you could split the zone or see a 1 hour drop base rally, which maybe works out for a bit, but ultimately continued going down. So waiting currently, right, for confirmation. So for swing traders or long-term position traders, you're waiting on this. It's flagged for you to come back and see every day or every week to see what's going on. USD Swiss. Let's just look at the 4 hour in this case. The 4 hour zones, the only one I'm really interested in trading is up in this 4 hour supply up in there. I don't see anything in this general area. Maybe on a 1 hour time frame, like you probably have like nice 1 hour zones, but obviously in 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, those areas are going to be removed or irrelevant. So I like that area the best, the 4 hour pivot point from up here. I think you might get some type of buying in here, but ultimately it just hasn't really accomplished too much. It's not like it made a new high in the market. Maybe it removed some type of little supply, but it's just not super convincing to me. But it has a very nice strong move to the upside. So I can also understand if you are going to take that approach to be that's your supply zone. I'm not a fan of drawing the whole zone like that because it hasn't really accomplished much. It's just kind of a corrective move. So that's why I kind of like tightening it up to see where did the imbalance really start from. That's here. And if we go down to the 1 hour, no, it would be like a 30-minute zone up there. That's what it would have to be. Maybe 30-minute. Yeah, 30-minute. All right. I know some people like trading 30-minute, 1 minute. That's totally fine. Just different time frame sequences, right? Didn't you guys catch this short or something? I think there's something else. Anyways, let's continue. Let's stick to the currencies, and then we'll go over stocks, gold, silver at the end. Let's do that since we're on the currency run. Euro pound, nothing weekly, daily. Wouldn't even have it on my watch list for now, not for at least 3 days. It's just irrelevant right now. I like the zone from down here. I like that. 4 hour time frame, honestly, nothing again. Maybe up in here is fine. I mean, you're trading with the trend, uptrend, right? Higher highs, higher lows. Yeah, I like that. That would be on my watch list for the day if I was going to be trading euro pound. But like I said, it's Sunday. This is obviously ideally what we'd be looking at. Breaking that and then kind of trading the bottom of that. Okay, let's continue on now. The last week levels we talked about worked pretty well. And that's just across the board. Here it's sitting spot. I think we talked about this area, right? On the 4 hour. Correct?
Probably. You have a better feel for it than I do.
I don't know. I look at the charts a lot. So
I know. I mean, I'm
you guys post.
I just don't like when you're going through it like this. I just don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I get a lot of questions from the group or for me only. And then there's the meeting. And then there's people on social media. Then there's my YouTube. So, and then there's the editing phase. And there's the reviewing phase. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, Euro is why I was looking at for sure.
What's what? USD yen? Euro yen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So top down daily. This was the zone from last week. Maybe the set and forget did work. I don't see a set and forget that I would take. But since now, daily, I like the 4 hour zone from down here. Like that's what I'm going to say. It's that same zone just across the board on euro, pound, euro, Aussie yen, New Zealand yen. Like they're all going to have that exact same supply, right? So we'll get to that in a second. And so it's coming down to that 4 hour demand from down here. So yeah, I agree. They're very nice 4 hour zones, and you like them still after going to the London session or Tuesday market. Then yeah, I would keep them on my watch list. right? Even same thing from up here with these little supply zones up here. I think they're great. They all have really good imbalances. I'd be using them.
Tuesday though, wouldn't you think that like any setups now are kind of like I think you'd want to see new confirmation happen on Tuesday, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and so if prices like come up and then like that and then come back down, sure, it could still be on your watch list. It might take 48 hours and it could be Tuesday. It's obviously going to be lower quality now because it's been tested once before and you're going lower. So this is where I would say small risk, maybe quicker take profits, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously spot, if you're in that phase of, you know, collecting your 20, 30 trades, try to remain consistent with what you're doing right now, you know? Because then you can start analyzing what when you journal your trades, okay, my counter trend markets, they work well if I only go for 2 to 1 only. As soon as I go for 3 to 1, 4 to 1, my win rate drops to like 15%. But when I ask for 2 to 1, it sits at 40%. You know, I'm just using it as an example. Right? Yeah. It's just remain consistent when you're getting those trades. Aussie yen. The reason I like, we talked about this supply. It's a very nice zone. It's like a breakout from the support. It's going to act as resistance, drop-based drop as well. So that's why I really like that area of supply. It's been tested once, tested twice now. So likelihood if it rallies up here, it's probably going to get removed. You know what I mean? So instead, I'd be waiting for maybe the supply from up here as my next fresh supply. Okay. And then 4 hour, it's going to be that same little 4 hour zone from down here. We just haven't gone down that far yet. New Zealand, I feel like it's just copy and paste. Let's skip this one, unless you guys want me to look at it. And then obviously we have these two new zones that are creating new lows in the market. What's nice about this is I don't see any opposing demand in here. Like there is no demand in this whole rally up that I would be marking out saying, I really like it as a buy. I just don't really see it. So I like looking for continuing for shorts, use a 4 hour time frame, a 1 hour time frame, and seeing if you can spot some nice little 1 hour zones, 4 hour zones, and continue to trade with the trend. So in this case, 1 hour supply zones. I'm not you guys already know, I preach it all the time. I'm not a fan of just setting and forgetting every little zone, especially when this is drop base, drop base, drop base, drop base, drop base, drop. It's overextended. So instead, waiting for confirmation once prices come back up into here. That's something I really like. You good on that?
Yep.
And then Aussie, New Zealand, we've been waiting for the pullback into this demand. Haven't gotten it. It's just continued to rally. So regarding, and the reason I like that is because the monthly time frame, it's the bottom of the range from down here that's been tested like 10 times and the top of the range 10 times. So that's why we were looking for the buy setup pullback here. We never got that with the confirmation. So instead, if you're going to be using the daily time frame, these would be my daily zones. All right. I like those. I like the supply because it's also going to be reacting as resistance, maybe to the 200 moving average. So you'll have 200 moving average traders maybe looking at this as resistance. We've had a massive rally over the last 45 days, 30 days. So it's getting to that time where we might see some sellers coming in, but obviously trending to the upside. So I'm not just going to sell the whole thing straight up. And that's a big mistake that I see people making. And they just sell at every buy or sell at every little zone. It's like, don't do that. There's a time and place for it. Like I've been mentioning throughout this meeting, as you guys go through the program and what I preach all the time. But as a multiple time frame, I like this zone. You guys good on that? Aussie CAD, skip it on the daily. Weekly, I like it up here like that. I think we're getting to that area where hopefully we can see some sellers be coming into the market. Okay. Aussie Swiss, nothing on the weekly. Daily, wouldn't really keep anything drawn out. 4 hour. You probably maybe get some type of buyers trying to step in maybe down in there, but right now where it's at, I'm really not interested in playing this. I'd be waiting. Yeah. Same thing, New Zealand, Swiss, just daily time frame. It's very, very ugly. I don't like that at all. Pound CAD, once again, very ugly. If you guys don't understand why it's ugly, or you see something that you think is good, let me know, but I don't see anything great. I'm sure you guys have been picking up every zone that I'm drawing out. They all have massive imbalances, right? They have very strong move aways. These areas are just 50%.
Demand area at the bottom. Would you think that that's problematic?
Sure.
Yeah, because of the long wick out, or would you consider that?
I hate it when the market does that.
The imbalance you actually see there, or that I see.
Yeah, I just would never use that in full area. That's a very wide area to use as a daily time frame as your base, and you're constantly looking for buying opportunities. All the way in here when trend's going to be in a downtrend, I feel like you're just going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I would stay away from that.
Okay.
Pound Swiss, let's skip that. Let's go down to these ones. Euro New Zealand, nothing. Obviously, you got good little 4-hour zones down in here that I like, but nothing. Well, Euro Aussie, it's a nice supply up here. I like that.
Kind of looks nice. Like there's a demand at the bottom there.
Yeah, and you got some demand down in here.
Yeah, it kind of takes out a zone.
Yeah. It broke momentum first, right? That's what showed its life of confirmation. It's breaking momentum, and then eventually removed it. And it's kind of holding this 200 moving average as well across the board. So yeah, I like that. I like that.
Is there a lower supply to the left?
Yes, down in here.
Or sorry, demand.
Yeah. So right now I'm looking at this. This is my watch list for the day, and this is a 4-hour time frame. I'm coming in Monday morning. This is not going to be on my watch list. It's too far away. 4-hour candlesticks. And every 4 hours, one candlestick gets printed. If it was a lot closer or inside, then yes, it would be on my watch list. But right now, no. But yes, I would have all those zones drawn out. The spot, what do you think of this?
I don't like it. I mean, it's okay, but I don't really like it. I like the demand more at the bottom there.
Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah, way too much time here. Just dead fish, right? So skip it.
Christmas, right? Like, is that one where you'd say, oh, it's only like that because it's over the holidays? Or would you say like conditions have changed?
Well, it's not really. It was kind of like this entire
November.
time. Yeah. October, November. Yeah, it just died. And so yeah, I wouldn't trade this.
Yeah, my dog doesn't like it either, so no.
Can you wipe his face for me and get the drool off his face?
I'm actually teaching him how to do that himself.
Jesus, I've seen videos of people doing that to their dog, of where they have like a washcloth or something like that next to their water bowl.
Yeah.
And they wipe their beard once they finish licking the water.
I'm in the slow process of teaching that.
Ooh, cool. That's a tricky one to teach them.
That one you've got like some supply, it looks like.
Yeah, I like this supply. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's going to be resistance as well as drop-based drop supply. People always ask me like, how should I, somebody asked me that actually today. I was looking at my Instagram messages. How do I find support and resistance? I said, just scroll out of your chart, right? Scroll way out of your chart. And that's how you're going to find the most reliable resistance support and resistance lines, is getting big picture of where the buyers and sellers seem to be kind of stepping in. And it's kind of just a general area down in here, right? One's support, maybe resistance. So maybe trying to hope. It really hasn't been used as resistance much. It's been a lot more support. But heck, that's the saying, old support becomes new resistance. That is not the case for supply and demand. Do not ever get that confused. Old supply does not make new demand. Support and resistance, different terminology, different kind of theories.
I do find though, like if you have a zone that's being taken out, right? Like I'm often, it's not necessarily the same zone, but like it's often I find a trigger to like, oh, often a opposite zone has been created somewhere nearby, because in order to take out a zone, like it's become tradable. So sometimes it's like, it's not that it like turns into it, but I find it often like I'll find a new zone if another zone's been taken out. Makes sense? Sorry.
Kind of lost me there.
Never mind. Ignore me.
Okay. Swiss yen. Yeah, you got this monthly demand. Could be better with a stronger leg out. I mean, the first leg out's fine, but it's not that good. It's overextended. It's just rally base, rally base, rally base, rally base, rally. Not a very strong, not a very strong close. So it's not really the greatest. This is where you would hear me say, probably down here on the bottom half on a weekly. I would sit here and say, never mind, take that back. And then I would say maybe daily, I'd say, never mind, take that back. Maybe here, but just I would still say the same. If prices were like this, you would hear me say, if that was when we were having our meeting, I would say, yeah, you got a decent, it's bad. You got a bad leg up. It's only gone 1-to-1 and it's taken 8 candlesticks and it's still only gone 1-to-1. Like after 10, sure, okay, it's gone 2-to-1. But it took 10 candlesticks to finally remove this area of supply. And then it didn't even really remove it very convincingly by just having a wick, wicking above it and then wicking above it again. Then finally you get the big move. So not really telling me it's the greatest zone, but I do understand if people did want to use it as a buy. Though this is where you would, once again, hear me see if I could pick the bottom, split the zone. It's just not a good thing to do, is keep going down like this. And this is the best zone. 4 hour down in here. That's a good zone. Much better leg out. Much better. Right. And that's, I think, where prices are currently right now. Right. Am I going to sit here and say this is where it's going to happen? No, it's like the same topic we just had with USD yen. Right. I don't think this is a zone that's going to take all the way up here. But heck, just based off of general principles of, lower lows, lower highs, it's getting to that point where you put on every indicator. I already know what they're going to look like. You put on the Bollinger Bands, the stochastics. I don't know what other indicators people use for overextended markets.
RSI.
Yeah, stochastics, RSI. Put that on. Bollinger Bands and whatever. It's going to be piercing through. I was going to say it's going to be like blowing through. Yeah, it's been riding the bottom for the last 12 candlesticks. The stochastics RSI has been sitting at the very bottom nonstop, right? For the last 5, since the last, am I getting these days right? Oh, this is the 4 hour. I was thinking I was looking at the daily, sorry. I was like, what? It was confusing. I thought I was looking at the daily and it's like, oh, there's like 7 candlesticks and it says January 11th. No, 4 hour time frame. Still, it's the same thing, right? On just different time frames. It's still a lot of candlesticks to be riding the bottom of this here. I get that's your theory going into this, though, is you are playing the counter trend market. You are aware that the stochastics is completely oversold. The stochastics RSI completely oversold. It's been riding the bottom of the Bollinger Bands for so long. It's sitting inside demand. So with those things, you're building a case to why prices will rally up here. And that's all we're trying to do in theory, any type of strategy. You're just trying to build a case of why you think prices are going up and down. And so if that's enough evidence to you and you don't mind trading counter trend, great. This would be on your watch list. And if Spot, you came to me and you find a trade setup, I would sit here and say, it's a very good higher time frame analysis you have. I think it would be better if obviously prices were up inside this supply. We would be reacting maybe off of the top of the Bollinger Bands. You might have stochastics RSI overbought in that case, right? If prices rallied all the way up here, you would also be reacting off of the 200 moving average. You would also be trading with the trend and at the last lower low, lower high pivot. So in my case, I would much rather be looking for selling. The case for looking for a higher probability trade, I should say, is much better up in here versus down here. but I still wouldn't say, I'll still say it's totally fine to be using that as a buy. It's just nice to have all these different things lined up. What you're doing, you're building a case. So as an example, just pop down. Did we really get any evidence yet? No. We came down and just kind of died out this entire day. So nothing yet. Would I set and forget down here? No, definitely not. I think that's a really bad way to trade, is just to say we're oversold, we're inside demand, we're counter trend, it's reacting off of the bottom of the Bollinger Band. I don't think that's a good thing, right? But people will be saying here now is, I don't think I can draw on the RSI unless I take a picture of it. Is, a lot of traders will wait for the turnover of the moving average of the stochastics RSI. You guys can see that, right? The blue line. Can I scroll in? Right, people are waiting for that to happen. But also you did get that maybe here as well, which would have lined up somewhere over here as a buy, and that would be a loss, maybe. Right? Probably. Or at least continue down. Right? So this is what kind of a lot of traders wait for, is that turnover to happen. But instead, what we want to see on the price actions, that to happen. You know what I mean, Spot? That would be what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Then I think that's a good high probability counter trend buy. Good high quality counter trend buy. That was solid. That was solid stuff. Any questions on that?
I guess I'm just thinking of the one that I put in half risk, but the USD JPY, I think maybe the difference is that we discussed like it is in a uptrend / sideways.
Yeah.
And I'm just testing out set and forgets to test out the different strategies as I learn. But yeah, like it makes sense in terms of like it's maybe overextended and probably goes, oversold.
Well, yeah.
And it's got a good strong base, etc. So kind of makes sense, but yeah.
This is also a yen pair too, right? So
exactly.
If you see this skyrocket to the upside, you're going to see USD yen skyrocket to the upside.
I guess
right?
that's also
Swiss yen, USD yen.
If you go up a time frame, right? So you're using daily as high time frame for this, right?
This is 4 hour right now.
Right. You're looking at 4 hour, but you're using your daily as the high time frame. Is that right?
No, this is like a 4 hour zone.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go up to like daily or weekly, then what is the trend then?
Well, it's still going to be down on the daily.
It's still down. Okay.
And we talked about this demand not being good, right?
Yeah. Whereas the other pair is like the daily or like the weekly.
Daily is still down, but at least we're sitting inside daily demand and monthly demand. Right? You good?
Yeah.
Cool. So quick look on the VIX, just a general look. It's always good to check it out to see where it is sitting. It is dropping lower. So yeah, that's not really an issue. I don't think it's a smart idea to be trading the VIX necessarily, or it's just a good thing to look at to see, are you trading high volatility, low volatility? Where might higher volatility come in? And we've been trending down nonstop. So not nonstop, but over the last week, we've been trending down. But let's have a look at the stocks. Dow Jones. And in fact, just for the kicks and giggles, we'll just keep the indicators on. We've been talking about this area of daily supply. I'm not a fan of swing trading short, unless like you're just buying and holding type of things, with just like, I don't even want to preach that, to be honest, but not necessarily a big fan of it, unless you're going to like add to your position. But it is daily supply. I do understand that. Sitting inside, you go down to 4 hour as well. You'll have 4 hour zones. So it's also reacting off of that top of the Bollinger Band. For Bollinger Band traders, it's also oversold on the overbought on the stochastics. So you have that lined up as well for you to be looking for selling opportunities. I just need to wait for the sellers to really step in. Just haven't seen it yet. Just once they start coming in for the day, that's when I'll be looking at it. And I think a lot of it's going to ride on what happens, not necessarily at the World Economic Forum meetings. That was just preaches and talks of what their agenda is for the world. Dr. Evil, as people call him. But the Fed coming out trying to raise, not the Fed, but the government raising the spending bill. That's what people are going to be keeping an eye on this whole week. That's the main talking point, at least. And so that's going to remain the same as like, the S&P and the NASDAQ. Maybe not the NASDAQ, it's a different beast, but it's the same daily type of 4-hour supply up in here that I'll continue to use. But if we want to have a look at US 500, just so we can see the CFD market. We were talking about those. Oh yeah, I remember that talking point. That was like half the meeting. We were talking about the buys in here. There's buys, there's sells, there's everything. If I'm approaching this for the day, yeah, I mean, if prices ever came back down into here, I would use that as a buying opportunity down to this demand. I think you're trading with the 1-hour trend being in an uptrend. I think it's great. 1-hour uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. Nothing wrong with that. I like it. Right? So waiting for those areas to maybe come back as a 1-hour, 30-minute type of zones. But we all are also, as of currently, it's a really nice confirmation zone. That happened. That was from the Fed rates, if I recall. Not the Fed rates, but what happened the week before? I forget what news came out last week. CPI numbers, was it?
Yeah, it's CPI, I think.
Yeah. Don't really remember. It was that gap that kind of screwed everything up. And I think there was a lot of people looking at this as a short. I get confused because currencies as well have that same sell-off. Anyways, let's take a new top-down approach. It's going to remain. It's a very nice 4-hour zone. Trends to the upside. So are you surprised that price is tested at once? Like, this is what I mean by these counter trend markets. Rallying up, drop, rally up. The impulse waves are a lot larger than the corrective moves. You know what I mean? So just timing your entries and your exits for smaller reward to risk is just what I recommend doing. So we're going up deeper into it. So any shorts are going to continue to be counter trend. And then your next area, 4-hour supply, is going to be up here.
Would you consider that zone, the higher one, to be stronger because it's a rally-based drop?
It is, but also like this had a lot stronger open imbalance.
Right.
But it's also higher up. I would call them basically the same.
Of a continuation of the previous, right?
Yeah, they're both good zones. They're equally good. Spot, it's like for you, two guys that you could ever dream of, beautiful. One has green eyes, one has blue eyes. Which one do you want?
I want the dog with brown eyes.
Okay, dog with brown eyes. It's just little things like that. Everything's the same, just different eye color. They're both good.
But is it different eye? Like, in the sense that a lot of what you reinforce is looking for those, like, it's not a pivot, right? Like, and I'm not trying to like be difficult to be like it's not the same, but like
you're being difficult.
It's not the same. Yeah. Okay.
They're both good zones.
Yeah.
They're both good zones.
Okay.
This is going to be the same. We just had this is the NASDAQ now. It's that same higher high, higher low, right? Same type of zones. Maybe the 4-hour looks a little bit different, but you're going to see it on a 1-hour, then somewhere in there probably. Yeah, like a 1-hour supply there. So it's the exact same kind of top-down analysis, the same demand zone that I like down in there. Maybe you get some type of little demand in here, but ultimately it's the same. US 2000, we don't look at it too much. What do we got going on here? Just daily supply. I think this is just a good, it's just in general, like as you guys see, all the stocks that are the same. Dow Jones inside that daily supply, right? You're going to see the same thing normally across the board on every single one. So we're coming up into that supply. 5 days of rallying. It's just, continue to look for buying opportunities inside those 1-hour zones, or we are waiting for a sell-off to happen like that. And then we have a supply zone being created. Make sense? DAX going to be basically remain the same, but it's the German market. Let's see. Weekly, yeah, we got weekly supply there that I like. This weekly drop-based drop, but let's have a look at stocks. Yeah, I would just keep it as a weekly. And same thing, just rallying up. So continuing to buy, trending market, 4-hour demand zones, 1-hour demand zones when prices pull back into them. This is the DAX. If we want to look at the CFD, it's going to be German 30. So it's going to be the same across the board. The UK as well. I think we pierced higher, huh? Touching that near all-time highs. This is quite a test for the London markets. That whole area of supply we've been talking about, that's been the massive zone since the coronavirus we've been talking about. Anytime up in here on the weekly. We are getting very strong closes as well. It's not like it's just wicking and then pulling back. We had a pretty good strong close, so we're going to have to see how it reacts this week. But once again, everything's sitting inside supply, and you're not going to see the Dow Jones drop while this continues to rally. You're just not going to see that. Okay. Oil, if you recall, that was always the supply we've talked about, coming back up into that area of supply. And we have, I think, a nice 4-hour zone that I do like. I like that. Nice momentum break. Higher time frame, 4-hour supply up in there. I don't like the arrival for cutting my profit margin. Coming up, rally, base, and then continue the rally. So to me, it's cutting my profit margin. So instead, I'll be using this as like a 4-hour supply zone and then looking for selling opportunities up in here. Good. And obviously we got some little demand zones in here, but ultimately this will be on the watch list for the week for this area up here. Gold has had quite a rally this year. How much to be exact? 10%, 15, 18%, nearing 20%. My gosh. Ooh, let's see. To be honest, I just wouldn't want to be selling this thing. You guys know I'm a big believer in this. I do not like selling it. And if I am selling it, it's 1-minute time frames, maybe 5 minutes. Then I don't even see any good demand zones in here to be playing. So it's honestly just one time frame trade sequence setups. Maybe these 4-hour zones. I like buying. I just like buying it. That's my preference to this. And you're going to have these 1-hour zones. Any type of one time frame buying, I think, is the best type of entries. Yeah, it's tough to get multiple time frames here. It's just not much pullbacks. So it's like you're going to have to use 1 hour, 30-minute zones for your pullback, multiple time frame demand zones, or the single time frame setup, which is also what that I'm watching. It's just tough to really get them because it's just nonstop rallying. Silver, I like this supply zone. I do. Now, am I going to swing short it? Given the fact that the metals market has been nonstop rallying, not a big fan of that. But hey, I think it's a very nice 4-hour supply zone. Is it multiple time frame? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe just barely. So it's like weekly. It's just outside of it, which wouldn't stop me necessarily. Weekly, 4-hour, higher high, higher low. Kind of like that type of movement, breaking momentum, pivot points being removed. And so, yeah, I do like this 4-hour supply. And if there is any selling opportunities, yeah, I would take it. I would take it up in here. I think it's a good little 4-hour supply zone. It's tough when the metal market has just been so strong this entire year. To sit here and just automatically start swing trading this to the downside, I think it's quite aggressive in my opinion, given my standpoint on it, as I've mentioned before. So for 3-minute, I haven't seen anything. I guess if we stretch the chart out, which I don't really recommend doing, this would be overextended, like just non-stop rally-based rallies. Kind of draw a pivot point like that if you want. Now, would I trade this going this close into the close? No, I would not. But maybe, you know, I wouldn't hold this over the weekend, of course, but maybe maybe for 1 hour. I don't know. That is what I'd be looking for, though. Right? That I would be waiting for this to happen now again. I need to go higher up. Okay. You guys good on that? Bitcoin had quite a rally in the crypto market this year, this year, I guess, especially over the last, week or so. Quite a very, very strong rally. It's blown through Bollinger Bands, way overbought. This is what the indicators are telling us. We are sitting inside supply, which is nice as well. So I definitely like this for selling opportunities. If you can capture any multiple time frame analysis, it's just, it's tough when, I think that was the conversation I was having. Let me delete all this. That was the conversation I think with Don, is like, how do you get confirmation when the market looks like this? It's just nonstop rally, big move, rally, boom. And like, you don't have any zones. And I mentioned it throughout this meeting. I think, well, it's tough when you just get this massive move. How can you determine what the trend is when there is no opposing zones or confirmation available? So usually in this case, what you can do is, like I said, is go down to a smaller time frame, the 30-minute or the 15-minute. Just keep in mind that's just going to be more aggressive because you keep going down to smaller time frames, which is fine. It's just a lot more aggressive. You guys know what I mean? And you continue to go down. That's just the problem. Is it's just so tough to get any type of confirmation. And when that happens, and I mentioned it in the post, and when that type of stuff happens, I just stay away from it altogether. I just say, hey, you know what? Great zone. Would love to be looking for selling opportunities. I just don't see the best setup. It's like if you see the same setup happen on 5 different pairs, like with the US dollar, I don't trade all 5. I'll pick the top 1. And if none of them show, then I don't take it. This is why I like having access to more charts or different time frame sequences. You guys good on this? So I definitely do like looking for selling opportunities continuing, but I just need to see the sellers come in from here. And then sure, then you could look for sales. I don't day trade Bitcoin. Kind of everything. Wheat, don't see anything interesting. Soybeans. Now cotton, we have that demand from down here that I like. It's just stalled out. Yeah, corn, coffee, just continuing down. Natural gas. I think the last time we talked about natural gas was this monthly area that I really liked. And I think we mentioned the set and forget would be here, if I recall. So that would obviously be a stop out. I think what I was saying is I really like it for shorts from last week, I think we broke. Yeah. Going into the weekend, I said, I still like it for buys, as I think it's completely oversold. I need to see the buyer step in, and I like it for a swing trade. I just haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen it. So as of now, before, this was like the momentum we were going based off of, something like that. Now it's kind of like this. So it's beginning to slow down. Anybody that's been short all the way up through here is getting out of their positions. Anybody all the way up here, getting out of their position. So it'd be interesting to keep an eye on like the COT reports for something like this to see how they're exiting their positions. Are they closing off their shorts and adding to their longs, to their long positions? That's an indication that prices are going to be continuing to have a big move up to the upside, because I guess literally a month ago, this natural gas was double in price. It's lost 50% of its value. At some point you got to look at this and say, it's an everyday used economy. So commodity, so you got to end up using it. So there's a market for it. It's down 50%. People use it. So at some point, the buyers, we got to see that come in. And so I think we got to see the COT report. It would be nice to see if they're closing their positions, but are they adding to their long positions? And we'll get a quick reference to whether or not that's happening off of the charts if we start seeing moves like this. All right, sure. Then we will most likely see probably long positions coming in. but we don't know. You really gotta look at the COT reports and something like that. You guys good? Anything else? Any questions, concerns, topics you guys want to talk about? Methodology, Discord, analysis?
I'm good.
You're good. Malik, clarity, dodgy
I'm
spot.
Good.
Yeah, sorry, man. I've been somehow work's just been flat out here at the start, so I have to go back and watch a fair bit of this, but it's been good.
All good, buddy. All good. It's nice to have you here. Well, let's end it here. Thank you guys for being here. And it's a holiday on Monday, but if you want to trade, I mean, by all means, go for it. It's your life. And let's try to have a good, solid trading week this week, you know? Try to remain consistent to the rules. And if you're brand new, continue just rewatching the videos, rereading that ebook, you know? You guys good?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys. Talk soon.
Cheers.
Bye.
Have a good week.